Alright, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the new Kenobi series. A new episode just dropped today, so I'm going to be discussing that. The first time I tried to record this, I don't know what happened, but the audio just didn't record, so we're going to take another stab at it. And without further ado, let's get right into it. So we have a recap, which isn't really 100% necessary. I mean, it's been just a week. I'm pretty sure that everybody can remember what happened, but I can appreciate it, especially if you watch one episode and you come back like a month later. You don't have to go back and watch through all of the episodes just to understand where you are. Anyway, we start off with a scene of Obi-Wan trying to talk with Qui-Gon, and he fails. While this is going on, Vader is being reconstructed in the bacta tank that we saw. Well, he's out of the bacta tank that we saw him in at the end of episode 2. I'm guessing that they're trying to do some sort of symbolism of Vader being built up while Obi-Wan's kind of in pieces, but this isn't a video essay, so I'm not going to get too much into that. But after that happens, Vader and Reva talk about how if Reva can find Obi-Wan, she'll be promoted to Grand Inquisitor. When it comes to the actual Grand Inquisitor, I do not think that he is dead, even a little bit. Just given how not only he's in Rebels and he dies in that, it wouldn't make any sense for them to make a series and then later on make another series and retcon the ending of the series with another different ending. It doesn't make any sense at all. It would just be a waste of time. But hey, what do I know? Anyway, we find out that that big building that I was talking about when we were going over the trailer, is sort of like I want to say the Inquisitorius building from Legends, where they trained and did all their Inquisitor business. I guess would be the best word for it. But anyway, after that, Obi-Wan and Leia arrive on Mapuzo. They go to the point where Haja gave them the coordinates of. Nobody's there. So Leia sees a speeder that's coming by. It looks like a truck. And she has the bright idea of waving it down, right? So silly. Obi-Wan should have stopped her. He's talking to her, being like, what are you doing? He should be like, hey, put her hand down. Why would you do this? There's no point. And it lands him in trouble. I don't understand why he didn't stop him. His skills might have diminished, but that doesn't mean his brain power diminished. Whatever. And so they go up to the speeder that looks like a truck, and his name is Freck. He sounds like a famous cartoon character. I don't know exactly which one.
Now, where did you say you're from again?
He has to be a famous voice actor or something. So someone let me know. But anyway, eventually some stormtroopers get onto the transport, and we get to see Obi-Wan still not be as sharp as he used to be, but still, have a little bit of a way of being in the swing of things. So there's this moment when Luma, or Leia makes up fake names for her and Obi-Wan. She calls herself Luma and Obi-Wan Orden. So she makes up a lie about her mother dying and Orden being her father. And so as they're riding along, Obi-Wan and Leia begin to argue. And at one point, Obi-Wan calls Leia, right? And at first I was like, oh man, they're just showing us again, he's not as sharp as he used to be, and he's not that good anymore, and he sucks now, just basically being like, yeah, he's still bad. Alright, let's just trying to hammer that home. But he showed that sort of contrary to what I said earlier, that his brain power still is, pretty good, and he was able to think on his feet and being like, when the stormtrooper called him out and being like, hey, you called her Leia. You said her name was Luma. And he was like, oh, Leia was her mother's name. And I called it that. It gets hard some days. Sort of like Kenny with Duck and Clementine. Check out Walking Dead seasons 1 and 2 if you want to know that reference. But anyway, stormtroopers eventually get off, and then Freck drives them up to a checkpoint, gets out, says, "Hey, I figured you might want to check these guys out." And so they hop out, and a probe droid flies towards Obi-Wan, and they tell him, "Put your head up. Put your head up." Obi-Wan sits there, waits for the probe droid to scan his face, and then shoots him. Like, if your plan was, oh, I'm going to shoot the probe droid and then fight all these guys off, shoot the probe droid before it can finish scanning you. Don't, sit there and be like, well, gotta make sure that it scans me so that Vader can come and get me and I can be chased around by him. No, that's not a good idea. You're Obi-Wan. You might have all these things that you're dealing with and you're still downtrodden, you're still feeling bad and guilty, and you're, down in the dumps because of the fact that Obi-Wan's still, Anakin is still around, but there's still that feeling of, hey, you gotta speed it up. I hope you can hear me snapping. But anyway, he fights them all off, and then he fought off 6 or 7 troopers, right? And then a transport of 3 roll up, and he just looks at them and then surrenders, right? At first I was like, why would you surrender, right? But then I thought about it, and Leia is standing right next to them, and Leia is very, very important, and there is a chance, however small, that Obi-Wan could get her shot, and then what was he gonna say to Bail? Oh, I was trying to fight him off and she got shot. Sorry, bro. It happens. It wouldn't have turned out too good, more than likely, just given how rusty is and how often, he even got punched in the face not a minute before that, so he's still sloppy. And in fact, now that I say this, there's probably a good chance he probably would have gotten shot, so he definitely made the right call. But anyway, the officer that came with the 3 stormtroopers shoots them all in the back and is like, "Hey, I'm one of the rebels," basically, but she doesn't say that, but she basically is, right? And so they get up, and Tala goes in her safe house and then motions them across the street. Obi-Wan doesn't put up his hood. Don't know why. You're still Obi-Wan. You're still famous. He was considered a war hero. It's only been 10 years. In 2015, right? If Ewan McGregor walked down the street, you'd be like, "Oh, that's Ewan McGregor." If I could say his name correctly. Yeah. Jeez. Maybe he was using the Force to conceal himself. I don't know. It's not super important. But when they do get in the safe house, Lola has a nice meeting with one of the loader droids that's in there that is very clearly a human in the suit, which never has really happened for me with a droid before, where I'm like, oh, that's just a human wearing a suit. But I don't know, just looked, the way the droid moved, it looked too human-like. I'm sure if you've seen the episode, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But anyway, eventually they go into the secret room that Tala has, and there's a bunch of engravings on the wall. And Obi-Wan sees an engraving of Quinlan's name. Quinlan is someone who, I'm sure you're aware of this, but for anyone who isn't, he's basically a Jedi who helped out Obi-Wan in Season 3 of the Clone Wars. Pretty good episode. I prefer the Legends version personally, but I still think he's kind of cool in the Clone Wars. Apples and oranges. But anyway, they're going to go to Jabim, but then Vader shows up, and Obi-Wan almost has a panic attack because he's just feeling the presence of Anakin so strongly. And then they head into this tunnel, the secret passageway that Tala has, and then Obi-Wan makes the decision to trust Tala, which, at this point, if you couldn't trust her, she'd probably have turned you over. And he goes back to lead Vader away, which he does pretty successfully. Vader is at his most scary in this episode. In fact, he's definitely the scariest I've ever seen him, at any point in Star Wars ever, right? you can feel the fear of the town as he's walking through, yanking people out of their houses and, ripping walls off of houses. It's insane. And then he goes after Kenobi, and of course Kenobi is afraid of him. And their fight is mostly it feels like a horror movie scene. It's almost like that scene in one of the Friday the 13th movies, Jason Takes Manhattan, where that black guy is sort of trying to fight off Jason, and Jason just is just standing there, and then with one strike he just takes out that guy completely. That's what it felt like. Just, you can't stand up to this guy, and Kenobi's trying so hard, and his hair's in his face, and it just feels so visceral and real. And it feels like you can also feel the fear of Kenobi in the scene, just being so scared of Vader, and so almost regretful of leaving Anakin there, because he's now I have to deal with him, and he's so strong, and I have been out of practice for 10 years. I think that they're going to build to a fight where Kenobi defeats him in episode 6. That way they don't retcon the line. When we last met, I was but the learner, now I am the master. Things of that nature. I think it would work really thematically, where Vader's only wins over Kenobi are when he's really lording it over, and his pride's kicking in. In fact, his pride sort of lets Kenobi escape, where he's just it almost feels like Vader thinks, oh, this is too easy. I expected him to be as powerful as he was on Mustafar. I'm gonna let him go. Because I don't see any other reason as to why you would just let him get away. Tala, okay, so Vader burns him, right? Then Tala shows up when one of the stormtroopers goes to pick him up. The Lord of Droids comes, gets Kenobi, they get away. So, while all this was going on, Reva had went to the safe house, had found a tunnel, and was going in. Somehow, when Tala left Leia, she just didn't cross paths with her at all. I thought there was gonna be another showdown like she had with Haja in episode 2. It just didn't happen. I don't know why or for what reason. Doesn't really matter too much. I guess what's more egregious is because maybe she's I don't know, stuck past her, but then once Tala's gone, Reva somehow gets in front of Leia, kills the pilot, and is standing there waiting for her. I was like, what? And then Leia turns and takes off. Now, that's the end of the episode. And hopefully, Leia isn't able to get away from her or something. At this point, seeing how she deal with the last chase scene she had. In all reality, I highly doubt that she's gonna escape, given that Reva's a Force user, and that would make literally no sense. I said last time that Reva and Obi-Wan were gonna fight. They do. Obi-Wan will probably destroy her on the level that the 5th sister got destroyed by Ahsoka in Rebels. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I definitely got the sister name wrong, but that's not too important. We had 2 Legends references, and if you know me when it comes to Star Wars, I love Legends references in any medium. So, first one happened after the stormtroopers had got off transport. Obi-Wan and Leia were talking about Padme, but of course Leia doesn't know about Padme. And Leia was like, Obi-Wan, are you my real father? Which was a pretty good question. And Kenobi answers, says, I wish I was. And then he talks about his family. He's like, I remember a mother and father, and I think I had a brother, which is a plot point from Jedi Apprentice, which is a series I've recommended before and I want to recommend again because it's really good. And then we had Jabin, which was a pretty big. I'm sure if you've read Star Wars Republic, you'll know. Yeah, it's Star Wars Republic. Yeah, just mentally checking there. But anyway, you'll know about Jabim and what a horrific battle it was. If you can't get your hands on the comics, just look up there's probably a Star Wars theory video about it. Just look up the Battle of Jabim, and you'll hear about it. I'll give you a quick synopsis here. Basically, it was just this horrible battle. There were like 6 or 7 Jedi and Anakin there, and all of the Jedi except for Anakin die. So the Republic decides to withdraw from the system, and Anakin has to make the choice of whether or not to let the civilians go or the troops. Anakin picks the troops. He leaves the civilian, says, "This is your fight now," and he's gone. So yeah, that's pretty much what happened on Jabim. Hopefully we'll get like a scene of Hayden and Obi-Wan like on Jabim in that like period between when Ahsoka came around and like Attack of the Clones. I really think that would be interesting. Hopefully we just get more Clone Wars live action scenes in general in the coming episode. And yeah, that wraps up my thoughts overall on the episode. Thank you all for watching. Bye.